Hello everyone, Phoenix Knight here. Welcome to the channel, and welcome to a new playthrough on the channel. After our adventures with Nemo and the Nautilus last week, you're probably wondering, Phoenix Knight, why are we looking at your empty game table? The reason we're looking at my empty game table is because we're getting ready to play Mansions of Madness by Fantasy Flight, but we need to figure out what scenario we're doing. Fortunately, I've got my iPad off shot, and the scenario that we're going to be doing today is, if I can get it to focus, Murder on the Stargazer Majestic. And that's the last time you'll see my iPad in shot today. A brutal murder begins an ancient ritual aboard the Stargazer Majestic. With an unnatural storm brewing around the luxury dirigible, you must discover the murderer before the fabric of reality unravels. Now, this is a 90 to 150 minute scenario, and we are doing longer games this month. So the idea is, if I don't finish it in, let's say like 2.5 hours, I'll leave it on the table and we'll come back to it later. But if I do finish it in that time, then I'll have something new on the table. But the point of this month is to give my longer games a little bit more room to breathe. Mansions of Madness is definitely one of those longer games. It's also a dungeon crawl, which, if not for the length, would make it a great candidate for Dungeon Crawl Fridays. But again, just a touch too long. So we're going to continue setting up. First thing we need to do is meet our investigators, and as we build the team out, we'll meet the ladies. And the first investigator we've got on the team, I'm going to keep all of my investigators off shot on the table in front of my laptop. The first investigator we've got is Agnes Baker, the waitress. 7 health, 7 sanity, strength of 2, agility of 3, observation 4, lore 5, influence 4, will 3. We'll bring her mini in as well so you can see what she looks like. Again, my artistic talent has never gotten far past stick figures, so they are, of course, unpainted. Her special ability is she begins the game with the Storm of Spirits spell. So I'm just going to go ahead and grab that out of my binder right now so I don't forget. Since I know full well the Storm of Spirits will be among our starting possessions because of that special ability, I'm just going to shuffle these up. And I'm going to go ahead and deal one out. So I've got that listed as part of our starting possessions. We'll put the stack of those there. Our next investigator is going to be another one of my personal favorites, Jenny Barnes, the Dilettante. We'll take a look at her mini as well. Again, not painted. She has got 8 health, 6 sanity, strength of 3, agility 4, observation lore also 3, influence 5, will 3. Her special action, if you have no clues, gain 2 clues and discard a horror. I like to think her lore is a product of, especially hanging out with some of the ladies on the team, especially Agnes. Those two, probably ever since my first days in the Arkham Horror Files, have both been teammates. Especially when I started playing them in Arkham Horror 3rd Edition, which has, of course, long since left my collection. The next investigator that we were going to bring in came in mainly because we needed a healer on the team. That is Carolyn Fern, the psychologist. I know Jester is playing as Carolyn, as one of his investigators in his Arkham Horror card game campaign that he's been working on, off and on. 6 health, 8 sanity. We'll take a look at Carolyn's mini real quick. There we are. Strength of 3, agility 2, observation 4, lore 3, influence 4, will 5. Her special action, you or another investigator within range flip 1 horror face down or discard 1 face down horror. 2 more investigators to go on the team. Next investigator that we're going to meet is Diana Stanley, the Reformed Cultist. 8 health, 6 sanity. Strength of 3, agility and observation 4,
Lore 5, Influence 3, Will 2. Being a former cultist, not surprising that her will is a little bit on the low side. And yes, indeed, I was just telling everybody about your playing as Carolyn in your your last Arkham Horror card game video. If you would suffer 2 or more horror, suffer 1 fewer horror instead. And our last investigator on the team is going to be... Oh, I forgot to show off Diana's mini. The last investigator that we're playing as is Ursula Downs the Explorer. 7 health, 7 sanity, strength of 3, agility, observation, and lore at 4, influence and will 3. Once per round, you may move 1 space before or after performing an Explorer action or resolving the effects of a sight token. We'll take a look at Ursula's mini, and then there's one more thing that I want to fish out before we start getting into starting possessions, as Troy Sawyer also stopping by, looking forward to a day of mansions and badness. Happy to provide that, but there's one more thing I need, so bear with me for a few minutes. Opening closet door. I'm not going to grab what I'm looking for out of there. I will be right back to grab what I'm after. For some strange reason, also playing Carolyn and Eldritch, which you were going to play this morning. Well, you can probably get to that if you want to stick around for this. You can come back to Eldritch after that, but I will be right back. Together. You might have heard me mumbling as I was out in the living room and at the Mystical Munchies table, but what I was looking for was the mini cards for each of the investigators. And the reason I want these is because they actually can serve as very nice turn indicators for who's gone already and around. Because if you're familiar with the Arkham Horror, the card game, you know you've got these investigator mini cards that are colorful on one side, black and white on the other. So that can be an indicator that on the color side, the investigators haven't gone yet. Black and white side, they have. So I will keep those off camera as well. Let's also pair them with the right investigators, because that's the thing we like to do here. One thing you may notice I didn't do is I didn't read the backstory. I normally go into the backstories of the investigators, but something else that I would recommend any fan of the Arkham Horror Files to get their hands on, if you want to learn more about the investigators, is a copy of this book, The Investigators of Arkham Horror, Tales of Mystery, of Adventure, and Madness, which is actually put out by Fantasy Flight. This may be out of print, so very hard to find, but this will give you some lore on each of the characters, on each of the investigators in the Arkham Horror Files. There's also The Art of H.P. Lovecraft, and I think that's another Arkham Horror art book down there, but I'm rambling at this point, so, excuse me. What say we continue setting up the scenario, because we need to get our starting items.
All right. Okay. Like I said, I have my iPad just off shot down over here at this end. So let's see. We need the scribe. Actually, let's get the spell out since I've already got the binder open to it. We also need the Mists of Relay. I'll show this off real quick, then we'll shuffle it, get a copy out. If you would resolve an evade check, you may flip this card instead. I'm going to shuffle these up off camera. You guys will have to trust me that I'm shuffling these off camera. I did also shuffle, you may notice just up here on this, up at this corner of the shot, I've also got my health, sanity, and the various insane conditions. Because health and sanity works a little bit differently in this game, where when it tells you to suffer horror or damage, you'll actually take one of those cards. So I'm up over here right now. So you'll take one of those cards and put it face down. Keep it face down until an effect in the game instructs you to flip it face up. We've got our Mists of Relay, and what I can actually do is I'll add the Storm of Spirits and the Mists of Relay, since I expect we'll be going to those a lot. Then we need common items. We need, looks like all S items to start with. We've got the Scribe's Journal, which I don't think is focusing very well. Probably glare from the sleeves, but I'm not unsleeving this game. Effects can't cause you to discard your clues unless you choose to. Then we've got Sensible Shoes. Roll an additional die when resolving an agility test. Let's see. Sturdy Luggage, which is a heavy weapon but in melee range. There is at least one benefit to lugging around your belongings. And finally, Survival Knife. Bladed weapon, base 2 damage. What else should you bring? Well, I can always recommend a good knife. Ursula Downs. Well, I think Ursula is going to start with her knife. Then how do I want to divide the rest of these up? Well, Agnes is definitely getting Storm of Spirits. I can very easily justify giving Storm of Spirits to either Agnes or Diana, because I prefer to have that with somebody with high lore, since lore is what you use to attack with spells a lot of the time. As for the rest of it, Mists of Relay, I think we're going to give Mists of Relay to Carolyn, because I figure she's going to be the one having the hardest time with any kind of evasion. We'll give the Sturdy Luggage to Diana, so she has some kind. Do I want to give it to? Question is, do I want to give that to Diana or Jenny? I think thematically, it would probably make more sense for Jenny to have the Sturdy Luggage. I'm going to create a little bit more room so I can put my health and sanity on the side for each of my ladies. Sensible Shoes for an agility test. Carolyn's agility is crap on the team, so I'm going to give her the Sensible Shoes, and then I'm going to give Diana the Scribe's Journal. And then each of our ladies gets a clue to start with. One clue each. And then I think, continue setup, so I think this is where I'm going to turn it over to the narrator in the app. And of course, a loading screen. There was thunder in the air on the night I went to the deserted mansion atop Tempest Mountain to find the lurking fear. H.P. Lovecraft, Lurking Fear. Take it away.
You're traveling aboard the dirigible airship Stargazer Majestic on a transatlantic voyage to Arkham. While playing cards on the bridge with your old friend, Captain Pike, a cry of alarm sounds from the gondola below. Insisting that you remain, the captain darts away to investigate. Outside, dark clouds gather, and light rain begins to pelt the hull. Unnatural black lightning bolts crack in the distance, and you can't help but feel a dark presence looming in the storm. When Captain Pike returns, the color is drained from his face. He explains that a passenger has been murdered in an occult ceremony. The captain pleads for your help in the investigation of both the murder and the ritual. Whatever dark force is at work, it must be stopped.
Before we continue with the scenario, did that come through okay for you guys? I'll be happy to read it again if there were... I'll be happy to read it for you guys if you weren't able to hear that clearly. But I do want to make sure you guys are set on the story before we jump into the scenario. So I'll wait a minute while I finish getting things ready for... I'll wait for confirmation while I finish getting things ready so I can start fishing for tiles. You guys could hear it fine. Okay, cool. So, let's get this show on the road. Oh, geez. As you descend from the bridge, you notice that breakfast has recently been served and people are going about their daily routine, despite the morning's sinister affair. Place the viewing rooms 1, 2, and 3 as indicated. That looks like it's from, Horrific Journeys. So it looks like we need a... So this is the one thing I have never liked about Mansions of Madness, is having to go slowly while I'm looking for tiles, so you guys will have to bear with me while I go through that. If I can ever get the tiles out of the bag. Alright, there's viewing room 2. Okay, I think we want the window. Okay, so viewing room 2 goes there. Then we need viewing rooms 1 and 3, which are both in the smaller size. Ship deck, engine cabin, side deck 3. More ship decks, caboose, chart room, dining car 1. Passenger car. Here we go. Looks like viewing rooms 1 and 3. Okay, cool. Alright, we want that to be here, I think. And that goes right about there. Perfect. Alright, looks like standing on the observation deck, you take in the large windows of the room. Place your investigator figures as indicated. Alright, ladies, let's go ahead and join the scenario. You pull out a worn notepad that has served you well over the years. Any important information regarding suspects and gathered evidence will be recorded here. Captain Pike has provided you with a brief description of the passengers and crew members, along with their cabin numbers or role aboard the ship. An investigator gains the incriminating evidence unique item. Any investigator may review the collected evidence by interacting with it in the app. Let's see, incriminating evidence. Right here. You thought the man seemed suspicious, but here is the proof. That's an investigator. Unfortunately, this isn't a clue, so Scribe's Journal won't protect it for Diana the way it will protect her clues. But I'm going to give this to Carolyn as well, just because I want to try to keep her out of combat as much as possible. The captain mentioned that the body of the victim, William Rushford, was found by another passenger, Fred Cooper, in the storage hold. While he was hesitant to do so, he reminded you that nobody aboard should escape suspicion, not even members of the crew. Right. To ensure that the suspect cannot take control of the airship, You encourage Captain Pike to lock himself on the bridge. When you are ready to make an accusation, he is asked that you contact him using the ship intercom, located on the observation deck. You locate it quickly, but note that several wires have been pulled out, perhaps indicating some form of sabotage. Place an interact token. Which this is the interact token, and that goes right there. The storm is much more noticeable through the observation windows that surround the room. The hairs on the back of your neck stand up, and the sensation puts you on edge. Grabbing a sight token next, that goes right here. Then we've got a clipboard with a stack of papers having been left on a table. So that'll give me a search token, which I've got right here. Then we're starting to meet some people. Near the portside windows, a young stewardess is scrubbing away at the floor, dried tears streaking her face. Place a person token as indicated. This is Ethel Gibbs, a crew member aboard the Stargazer Majestic. So back into the binder I go. Let's see, conditions. Okay, here are my person tokens. I do keep everything I keep a lot of things in a binder. But here is Ethel Gibbs, right? Yep. She goes right there. Alright, then we've got a very well-dressed man gazing out the front of the observation deck window, occasionally drawing on a cigar. Place a person token for Arthur Holloway III, a first-class passenger. Depending on how much he insists on the third, this could very easily be a snobbish passenger that I really don't like. But there's Arthur Holloway. Then we've got a breakfast table off to one side. That's going to get a search token, which we'll put that here. And a door leading to a hallway for an explore token. That goes right here. A door provides crew members direct access between the crew office and the observation deck for another explore token. Investigate the murder, gather evidence, and contact the captain to make an accusation. And apologies for the long setup, but that's the nature of the beast with Mansions of Madness. So, let's jump in. Well, the first thing I want to see about doing is... Oops, that's not what we want. In the backpack. We could interact with the incriminating evidence in the app. And I wish this would do audio narration. Fortunately, it doesn't cost an action though, and there would be an arrow on options in the app. Actually, this I am going to show you. I lied, so we're going to see the iPad one more time. But as you can see here, there aren't arrows next to gathered evidence or suspects. That's what would indicate it would cost an action to do that. I'll show you guys later when we interact with something so you can see what the arrow looks like. We don't have any gathered evidence yet, but I do want to look at our suspects. I don't want to review Dot Fisher yet because we haven't met her yet. Let's look at Arthur Holloway III and Ethel Gibbs first. Arthur Holloway III is a first-class passenger. That's all the information we have on him. Okay, so... I think we might as well start fishing for information. So, we're probably going to be talking to people on our next turn, I think. Especially since the move action is... Oh, it's move up to 2 spaces. So we actually could try to get some information here. I think that's what we're going to have Jenny start off with doing. So Jenny is going to move 1, 2... She's going to go talk to Arthur Holloway III. And here's where I'll show you. So Arthur Holloway III looks pensively out the window, his suit immaculately pressed. You can see here that the arrows next to the options have you been in here all morning, and did you see anything suspicious? Those both cost an action, so that will be Jenny's second action. Let's ask if he's been here all morning. You think I did this? Ha! That is rich. He turns away from the window to stare at you. Do you know what the problem is with people like you? You stick your nose where it does not belong. He takes a long draw on his cigar, then exhales slowly in your direction. I was in my cabin most of the morning. I only left it to take breakfast and enjoy the view. Thank you for ruining both. Yeah, I really don't like this guy already. I think Jenny's going to get a little attitude. You're welcome. Arthur Holloway glares at you, his face turning crimson. You think you're smart, do you? His voice becomes a low growl. I assure you, I am not a man you want as an enemy. As he turns away, you notice a heavy ring emblazoned with an occult emblem on it. Gain 1 clue. Huh, interesting. So he's already got... Okay, that's at least a little bit of a red flag, because we know our victim was murdered in an occult manner. So that may be something worth keeping an eye on, but that is it for Jenny's turn. Oop, the incriminating evidence has been updated. Okay, let's see. Well, unfortunately, we can't get to Ethel this turn and talk to her. Actually, maybe we can. Actually, if we go 1-2, we can. I was looking for another dividing line on this side of the viewing room too, but there isn't one. Who else has got decent influence? As long as it's not Diana or Ursula, we could send somebody in case we need an influence test. I definitely wanted to keep Carolyn out of combat anyway, so I think I'm going to send her in that direction. So Carolyn is going to move 1-2. Plus, we've got options with Ursula if we want to start moving deeper into the ship early. Since Ursula can move 1 space before or after performing an explore action or resolving a site. So I think we are going to send Carolyn down to talk to Ethel. Ethel Gibbs is on her hands and knees, scrubbing the observation deck floor, dried tears streaking her face. Is everything okay, or have you been working on the observation deck all morning, both of which cost an action? So, I think we'll ask if everything is okay with Ethel. Startled, she wipes at her face. Oh, it is nothing. I am fine. When she realizes that you are not going to give up, the tears start anew. That poor man! I overheard the captain talking about the murder. Do you really think it was part of some dark ritual? Are we safe? She starts to say something more, then pauses. You patiently wait for her to continue. Influence. So it's a good thing we sent Carolyn over. The way that dice rolling works in this game, I'll bring the dice tower and shot. The way dice rolling works is we've got these specialized D8s. The elder signs are what we're looking for because they indicate success, but the clues mean that we can spend a clue to convert that into a success. So we're going to take our roll and our result, depending on how many we get, will influence how Ethel interacts with us in the app. 3 successes, we could spend a clue to make it 4. But I think this early in the scenario, 3 is probably enough. So let's take our 3 successes and see if we can use that to get a little more information. She comes to a decision. I really do not want to cast dispersions, but if this was some part of some ritual, she takes a deep breath and gestures toward Arthur Holloway III. Last night, when I was delivering a cocktail to that man's cabin, I noticed that he had items with unusual symbols on them. Do you think he could have had something to do with the murder? Gain 1 clue. Looking in Arthur's direction. That's what I figured, Jester. This early in the scenario, 3 successes should be plenty. That's why I didn't spend the clue for Carolyn. But it's definitely helping us cast further suspicion at Arthur. But that could very easily be a red herring, as has been seen in so many murder mysteries and stuff like that. I think we'll have Diana go next. She's going to move down 1 and interact with this search token. A clipboard with a stack of papers has been left on a table. Picking up the clipboard, you notice that the papers are all complaints filed by former passengers. The captain must have left these here in haste. Each of the pages details items that disappeared from cabins during previous trips. Uh-oh. They go on to list the missing items, several very valuable, and the approximate time frame they went missing. As you return the clipboard to the table, a glint from the floor catches your eye. Gain the disc of Examna common item, then discard the search token. So let's deal with the search token first. It goes in there. Then we'll fish out the disc of Examna. And that will be going to Diana. Roll 1 additional die during the Mythos phase. That could be very cool. So we'll give that to Diana. And then that will be her turn. But we do still have a space that we can move, because in Mansions of Madness, you can break up your move actions. So we'll move up. So we'll move back up. As for Ursula is actually we're going to have to move the tiles over, because we are going to start moving a little bit deeper into the ship. I'm going to move it all the way over here because I'm expecting this map to grow a lot more. I'm expecting the map to grow a lot more in this direction. So I want to make sure I've got more room for that to happen. So we'll start off with Ursula interacting with this Explore token. The door leads to the rest of the dirigible. And she can move 1 space before or after performing an Explore action. So it'll probably be after, but let's see what we get as we explore further. The section of the hallway leads to the first-class passenger cabins and several crew-only rooms. Discard this Explore token and place the entry hall as indicated. And that looks like a base game tile, if I remember correctly. It's also a smaller tile. Here we go. Entry hall. And it goes like so. Yep. Alright. First class cabins are located along the starboard side, so it looks like we've got starboard and port. I guarantee you I'm going to forget that. We'll get 2 more Explore tokens for those. And a couple doors marked crew only, but we'll have access to them during the investigation. 2 more Explorers on the port side. And the hall extends further into the dirigible. Captain Pike mentioned that the murder took place in a room down the hall, so we'll grab a sight token at the end of the entry hall. Sight tokens, unlike Explorers, don't cost an action. Then we've got some kind of markings on the floor. That'll get a search token. You may move 1 space into the explored area. And that's going to serve as... So what Ursula is going to do is she's going to move 1 for that, and then 1 more for her special ability. Because remember, once per round, she can move a space before or after performing an Explore action or resolving the effects of a sight token. She just resolved an Explore action, so that's what she's doing here. Then we're going to interact with this sight token, because remember, interacting with a sight token doesn't cost an action. The hall extends further into the dirigible. Captain Pike mentioned that the murder took place in a room down the hall. An investigator in the entry hall can reveal the adjacent area, and we will. The hallway leads to several more rooms. Discard this sight token and place the Hall 2 tile and a door is indicated. Let's see. Hall 2 is what we're... Here we go. So Hall 2 goes there. And we need a door. I'm not going to go too far with that search, with that sight and explore token. This time, if it gives me an option to move in, I'm not going to, because I want Ursula to interact with this search token right there. It's actually, it might be a little bit hard to see, probably because of all the light I've got shining on it. A couple of coach cabin doors along the starboard side of the hall. 1, 2, and I'm going to grab 2 more. I'm going to grab 2 more explore tokens, because I expect these 2 to turn into doors as well. At the far end of the hall, the medical office door stands ajar. We'll put an explore there. The door to the engine room is locked tight, but we place an explore. And yep, I did need 1 more. Turns out there was one explore token, this one that I hadn't accounted for. On the port side of the hall, you see a door that is slightly open with a soft light coming from within. This is the ship's cargo hold, where the victim was discovered earlier this morning. Place an explore token as indicated. We are definitely going to need Ursula. We're definitely going to need Ursula to zip around the ship. But I think I wanted her to interact with the search token, so that's what she's going to do. Some kind of markings on the floor. Well, let's take a look. That's what she's here for. The markings are some kind of scuff mark, perhaps made by someone's shoes. You dismiss it as common wear. As you turn away, you notice a small item amongst the alcoves. Gain the riot whistle common item, then discard the search token. So, riot whistle. Once per round, you or another investigator within range, that's up to 3 spaces, may reroll any number of dice while evading a monster. So that'll go to Ursula, and that will be the end of her turn. So we've got Agnes left to go. And then this search token is gone. As for Agnes, I think she's going to move up to this search token. I'm trying to remember what that was. That was a breakfast buffet table. Let's take a look at that. The buffet table is covered with different breakfast foods, including an array of breakfast meats and eggs. Crumpets and Scotch pancakes are lined along the leftmost edge, and an unusual delicacy, crimson carp, is displayed proudly in the center. As you approach, you notice a dark red stain on one end of the tablecloth. Lifting up the linen, you find a small knife covered in a sticky substance. Lore. 5 dice for Agnes, and I'm going to grab the cup for this, because my hands are still pretty small. We have 2 successes, and I think by the logic of 3 successes should be plenty. I did roll a clue icon in there. So I am going to spend the clue to convert that into a success and make it 3. Upon further study, you realize that the substance must be blood, but the nearly black glittering hue makes it difficult to discern. You pick the knife up and notice strange occult symbols etched into the hilt. This must be the murder weapon. You look around and realize that whoever placed this knife here had to have been on the observation deck sometime this morning. Gain the ritual dagger common item, then discard the search token. So we'll get rid of the search token and fish out the ritual dagger. And I think I just looked at this and I realized that this is not moving from Agnes. Bladed weapon does 1 damage, but I'm more interested in the effect of roll 1 additional die while casting a spell. So yeah, that is definitely not moving from Agnes. The incriminating evidence has been updated. And let's move into that's actually... I think we're going to move Agnes into the space with Arthur, Maybe she can ask about the knife, about the dagger that she just found. But that is it for our turn. Remember, we can break up move actions. So I'll flip all of our mini cards back over, and we will go into the Mythos phase. The seemingly infinite depth and expanse of the ocean fills you with a sense of insignificance and futility. This Mythos event affects the investigator with the lowest lore. I know that's not going to be Agnes or Diana because they both have 5. It's not Ursula, it's either Jenny or Carolyn. And since they both have 3 lore, we're going to grab a d6. Odds it's Jenny, evens it's Carolyn. Evens, so it's Carolyn. Your head starts to spin with vertigo. Will needs 2 successes. Good thing we had Carolyn take this one on, because she's got 5 will to Jenny's 3. And we get 2 successes, so we dodge a bullet there. If you pass, you realize that now is not the time for philosophical notions. Good call, Carolyn, and we avoid bad stuff. Back into the investigator phase. Well, first things first, let's see if Agnes can interact with Arthur about the dagger. No, there's no interact option about the dagger. So, what to do? Well, I think what Diana is going to do is she's going to join Ursula deeper in the ship. 1, 2, and we're going to start opening up some of these. We're going to start opening up some of these rooms. So actually, she's going to stop there, and then she's going to open this room. Let's see. This was the crew office. The placard indicates that the area is only accessible to the ship's crew. Well, we have access to that during the investigation, so we're going to explore. The crew office is well lit, the smell of cigarette smoke wafting throughout. Place the study tile and discard all Explorer tokens leading to it. It's just the 1. So that is a base game tile, and I assume there's going to end up being a wall placed in there. So we need the study, which we have right here. Actually, no, we're not going to need that because I forgot there was an Explorer. I forgot there was an Explore token down here. I don't expect I'll need these. All right. A young man in an officer's uniform is sitting at a desk covered with charts and other official documents. Place a person token for Officer Butler, the Stargazer Majestic's navigation officer. Let's see, he was a green person token, I believe. Yes. Actually, here we go. Officer Butler. All right, we put him down there. Then we've got an overturned sofa cushion catching your eye from across the room, placing a search token right here. And Diana can move 1 space in. She will not. Instead, she's going to move. Actually, she could also open up these starboard rooms, and I think that's what she's going to do. So let's do that. The sign reads Cabin 1. This is the cabin of Arthur Holloway III. This is definitely a room I'm interested in checking out. So let's go ahead. This is the cabin of Arthur Holloway III. The lavish furnishings are a stark reminder that you have entered a first-class cabin. Discard this Explorer token and place the Cabin 1 tile as indicated. That's from Horrific Journeys. Presumably the other Explorer token will lead into the other cabin, which my eyesight is either going in my old age or I went past it. Either my eyesight is going in my old age and I passed it, or I don't have it, and I'm not willing to bet I don't have it. Wait a minute. No, I'm in the right pile of stuff. The other option is that I'm just going blind in my old age, which is also a possibility. Huh. That's actually kind of irritating. Here's the problem. It was organized, it was in with the wrong expansion of stuff. That was actually from Horrific Journeys, but I had it in with the base game. So I'm not going blind in my old age, as far as I know anyway. On the dresser, there's a small ornate box covered in arcane symbols. Place a search token. That sounds puzzly. You may move one space in. This time Diana will move into it, since she'll be the one to interact with that puzzle first. We'll at least find out what it is. Then for Ursula, we're going to keep exploring. So I think Ursula is going to go ahead and pop one of the doors on the port side. This door leads to the crew quarters. Placard reminds you that this area is off limits to passengers. We have access to it, though, again, part of the investigation. The front of the room is filled with rows of beds, each neatly made. Footlockers stir in front of each bed, a nameplate for each crew member affixed to them. Discard this Explorer token and place the crew bedroom, and a door is indicated. Hopefully I didn't organize that into the wrong stack of tiles either, too. Fortunately, this one I did not. Let's see, that goes there. We'll leave the Explore token, and we need a door. So we'll put that right here, which makes me think this Explore token is going to be related to that door. But let's see what else we've got here. A folded letter sits on Ethel Gibbs's bedside table. Place a search token. Then we've got the footlocker belonging to Officer Butler, sealed with an elaborate lock. That'll get a search token as well. Then we've got an Explorer. The door provides crew members direct access to and from the storage area and the crew quarters. We'll get an Explore token for that. Why did I grab more Explorer tokens when I had two more right there? Maybe I am going blind in my old age. I don't know. May move one space in. So Ursula is going to move in 1 for her ability and 2 for the text. And then we're going to interact with this footlocker. That also sounds puzzly. Footlocker belongs to Officer Butler. There's an elaborate lock preventing you from opening it. Well, let's see what we can do with it. The lock seems simple enough. Given enough time, you should be able to discern the combination. Tap to attempt the puzzle using agility. So the way puzzles work in Mansions of Madness is if you get a puzzle, it'll give you a stat that you can use to attempt it. And your stat will tell you how many moves you get on that puzzle for an action. You can spend clues for additional moves on the puzzle. The exception to that being if there's no light source in the room. So I'm going to bring the iPad and shot so we can take a look at this puzzle. Okay, this doesn't look too bad. Let's see, 4 moves though. So what I ultimately need to do, it might be a little bit hard to see, but I ultimately need to get this block into there. The only question is how. So I think most of this first step of the puzzle is going to be focused on getting this out of the way. This is probably going to take Ursula around to get this done. So I think we could go. So the question is, what's going to be the best way to set it up so she can finish next round? We may need her clue to get something set up. So I think if we go these two blocks down here are causing a little bit of a problem because they're going to make me have to spend a clue most likely this round. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to start going 1, 2, 3, 4, and I'm going to spend the clue. Actually, is it really going to make a difference if I spend a clue now or just wait for next round? I don't think so, because I think all I do there is I go 1 to move that, 2, 3, and then 4. So no. Ursula's going to sit on her clue because I ultimately don't need it. All I'm going to do is spend a clue for an extra move now when I know I'm going to be able to finish it next round. So that's going to be it for Ursula. Let's see. Now what do I want to do with Agnes, Jenny, and Carolyn? Let's move back over to Carolyn, who's down at this side of the ship. Also, get the iPad out of shot. So I think we're going to move back down to Carolyn, who's going to talk a little bit more with Ethel and see if we can get a little more information out of her. Ethel Gibbs is on her hands and knees, scrubbing the observation deck floor, tears, yada yada yada. Have you been working on the observation deck all morning? Let's put it to her. Wiping her eyes, she looks up at you. Yes. I was here to serve breakfast. We were not very busy. Only 3 people came to get food. That man over there, she points to Arthur Holloway III, the strange bearded fellow in the coach cabin, and Dot Fisher. She introduced herself to me last night. So you never left the observation deck? Ethel looks down as she fidgets with her hands. I did leave to take food to Officer Butler. I know I was not supposed to leave my duties, but when he did not show up at the usual time, I figured he was too busy, so I brought his food to the office. Tears well up in her eyes. When I went to the office, he was not there. I do not know where he was, but I'm afraid it makes him look suspicious. Please! I know he did not kill that man. You must not think it was him. Gain a clue. So that'll give Carolyn a 3rd clue. The incriminating evidence has been updated. And I think we're... Okay. Ethel has gone back to scrubbing the floor. She has nothing more to say. So now we're out of interaction options. We've got everything we can out of Ethel. So now Carolyn is going to move 1, 2 to start joining Diana and Ursula deeper into the ship. I think we'll have Jenny talk to Arthur one more time, and then Jenny and Agnes are probably going to start moving in that direction as well. So Arthur looking pensively out the window, suit immaculately pressed. Jenny's going to ask, did he see anything suspicious this morning? The most suspicious thing I noticed was the food on my plate trying to pass as edible. He reaches down to wipe away a spot on his otherwise perfectly shined Oxford shoes. The dining experience on board this ship is horrific. I will not be traveling on this vessel again. Of that, I can assure you. Was anyone with you on the observation deck during breakfast? This is Jenny talking now. And I can't do a very good feminine voice for obvious reasons. He lets out a deep sigh. Yes, that disgusting bearded fellow. Fred Cooper, I believe. He came in shortly before the body was discovered. He grabbed his food and took it back to his cabin like the savage that he is. He wrinkled his nose in disgust. Smelled terrible, too, as if he was bathing in some foul incense. And of course, the help. He gestures toward Ethel Gibbs. I really don't like this guy. She came in afterward. Blubbering. Something about that navigation officer. Completely unprofessional to display affection in public while on duty, if you ask me. I'll be submitting a formal complaint to the captain about it, believe you me. Gain 1 clue. Incriminating evidence, yada yada yada. Which game does the scenario come from? Is it from the core box or an expansion? I've got a list of the scenarios here. That's not it. This is, let's see, Murder on the Stargazer Majestic. It actually comes from the Horrific Journeys expansion. That list is actually, I think, off of Wikipedia. I think so. Let's see, so presumably we've exhausted all the information we can get from Arthur. He looks at me briefly before sighing. I have told you everything I know. Can you not just leave me in peace? He turns back to the window, ignoring you. Prick. Not any of you guys. I'm talking about Arthur and the story. And then Jenny is going to move 1-2. We are going to start moving everybody deeper into the ship since it seems we've exhausted everything out here. And then Agnes is going to move down 1, interact with this site token. Because remember, this whole thing on this side is one gigantic space. From here, you can see the storm gathering outside the ship. An investigator in viewing room 1, 2, or 3 can look out the window at the storm, and Agnes will. Looking closer at the gathering clouds, you are overwhelmed with impending dread. As if sensing your unease, the storm ignites another dark lightning bolt just ahead of the ship, and a gust of wind rocks the dirigible, forcing you to steady yourself. Something sinister is at work, and you cannot shake the feeling that if you do not stop it, everything will be lost. Suffer 1 face-down horror, then discard the sight token. So we'll grab our face-down horror, which I did shuffle this morning. Agnes will keep that face down until a game effect instructs her to flip it up. Morning, Barbara. Hope everything is well with you this morning. We're just spending some time losing our minds. Then Agnes is going to join Jenny again, the general plan is we're going to start moving deeper into the ship. We'll flip everything back up. I've got all my investigator mini cards off shot in case you're just stopping by, and we're headed for the mythos phase. You study the evidence collected thus far, convinced that there is a pattern you have yet to perceive. This mythos event affects the investigator with the most evidence. I think the most evidence is going to be our all of 1, and we gave that to Carolyn, so this is going to affect Carolyn. Good to hear everything's good with you, Barbara. You find yourself overwhelmed by the sheer volume of your collected evidence. Lore, and we need 3 successes. Her lore is 3, so all of these have to be successes or clue icons that we can convert. 2 of them are clue that we could convert, but the third one is a blank, so we have to fail. If you fail, you are quickly overwhelmed by the sheer amount of evidence and fear that you will not be able to expose the murderer in time to stop the ritual. Suffer 2 face down horror, then flip 2 face up. Ouch. So this is what I was talking about earlier, where you keep your horror and your damage face down until a game effect instructs you to flip them face up. Well, Carolyn just took 2 and she's about to flip them both face up. Anxiety. Your worries are overwhelming. What can one person do against so much evil? Resolve immediately. Become stressed, then discard this card. So that will send me back into the conditions binder, and I want stressed. At the end of after re-rolling and converting dice results while resolving a test, you must remove a success from your dice pool. At the end of your turn, discard this card. There's worse things that could have happened, which all that tells me is Carolyn is probably not doing any... I want to try to avoid having Carolyn do any testing this round. Her other face-down horror. Terrible truths. The horrifying things that flash through your mind can be put to good use. Resolve immediately. Gain a clue, then flip this card face down. Ooh. That gives Carolyn a fourth clue. But it also gives us a horror card that I'm not completely sure I want to discard. Although Carolyn does have an action that she could. We'll start a discard pile up there for the horror. And the investigator phase. First things first, let's go down to Ursula and finish this puzzle. Nearly have the cipher solved. Yes, she does nearly have it solved. We'll bring it back. We'll bring the iPad back in shot because now we're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4. And finish the puzzle about like that. That's why I didn't spend the clue last turn. With a little effort, the lock releases. You open the lid to find various clothes and personal effects. A pocket watch lying on top of everything catches your eye. The initials WR are engraved on the back. Gain the pocket watch common item, then discard this search token. WR, that was the initials of the guy who was murdered. Pocket watch. This would have been useful about 5 minutes ago, but the pocket watch is an equipment. You may perform one additional puzzle step while attempting a puzzle. And that was Officer... Perhaps you should ask Officer Butler about this watch. Yeah. I was kind of thinking the same thing. Interesting. So how did Officer Butler end up with the murdered man's watch? Let's... I think Ursula is going to have to move 2 to get up here. That way I can double her down to talk to Officer Butler about it next turn. So let's do that. 1, 2. And then that'll be the end of Ursula's turn. I think we're going to have Carolyn interact with this search token. I'm hoping there's no test there, though. If it's testless, that would be a lot more welcome. An overturned sofa cushion looks out of place. You flip the cushion over and notice a dark red stain soaked into the top. Upon closer inspection, you realize that it is just a dried wine spill and has no relevance to your case. As you go to return the cushion, you notice someone has shoved something in between the seats. Gain the 18 Derringer common item, then discard this search token. And look at that, the Derringer is right on top. Firearm, ranged weapon, 2 damage. No gal should be out on the town without a bit of protection, or aboard a dirigible for that matter. But we discard that. And then Carolyn is going to move 1, 2. Since she can't ask, well, it would make sense for her to ask Officer Butler about the watch, since Ursula's got the watch. Plus, she doesn't have the action anyway. Diana is going to come up and interact with this search token with Officer... That's in Arthur Holloway III's cabin. So let's see what we've got here. Small ornate box covered in arcane symbols. Not only do I think this is a puzzle, I'm starting to think I know what kind of puzzle it is. As you examine the box, you cannot see a latch or lid. Spinning it in your hand, you notice that the symbols themselves can be moved. Tap to attempt the puzzle using lore. Okay, Diana's lore is a 5, so I don't hate that. Okay, I was wrong about the kind of puzzle it was. I was expecting a mastermind puzzle, but instead I get one of these. So, So ultimately we need to end up with the pattern, completing the pattern that got scrambled. Okay. Let's see. Looks like those 2 pieces go together. I think that's a middle spot. So, Let's see. What do I want to do here? Diana has 1 clue that she could spend for an additional move, but I think it's probably going to be her entire turn interacting with this puzzle. So let's move that first. Those 2 pieces definitely go together. And I think this is the upper right corner, or up the upper left corner. So I need to get that up here. That's going to take me 3 moves. 4, and Diana's lore was 5 we established. So that goes there. Then this is going to take her entire round, as she's going to go 6, 7. Oh, that finished the puzzle. Nice. So the unused moves will go to waste in the puzzle. As the last symbol slides into place, you hear a soft click as a side compartment pops out of the box, revealing its contents. This must be Arthur Holloway III's secret stash. Gain the sedative's common item, then discard. We'll get sedatives out and see what they are getting. Here we go. Sedatives say, as at the start of your turn, you may discard 3 damage and 3 horror. If you do, discard this card and end your turn. So if something is going completely sideways for Diana, that's basically a get out of jail free card. But that's also the end of Diana's turn. I don't imagine Arthur's going to be too happy if we try to ask him about the sedatives, so we got Jenny and Agnes left. They could double down. Or it might make sense that one of them moves in. That one of them moves in here. Theoretically, thematically, Ursula could tell them about, hey, I just found this watch. You should go ask Officer Butler about it. And I think that's what they're going to do. So Jenny's going to move in first. She's going to move in 1. Ursula is going to tell her to wait a minute and explain about the watch. Go ask Officer Butler about it, and Jenny is going to do exactly that. Excuse me. So coming down here, Officer Butler is analyzing navigational charts at a small desk. His uniform, normally pristine, looks disheveled and sweat-soaked. Well, let's come right to the question. How did William Rushford's pocket watch end up in your locker? A look of surprise comes over Officer Butler's face. How did, I do not know what you're talking about. His eyes dart around the room as he reaches for a pack of cigarettes from the desk. Clearly, but it was in your locker, or start talking are our choices. What do you guys think? Do you buy what seems like an innocent act from Officer Butler? I'll let you guys make the call. I know I'm ready to call BS. I don't want to just call BS on him right off, because that seems like a very easy way to shut him down and not get any information out of him. I don't want to just start accusing him. So unless you guys can convince me otherwise, I think the next choice is going to be clearly, but it was in your locker. Because I don't want to seem accusatory right away, especially since this is my first interaction with Officer Butler. But I'll let you guys weigh in on this one. I think I'm actually going to go with my instinct on that, so we'll talk clearly, but it was in your locker. You sit on the edge of his desk, calmly waiting for a response on influence. Good thing we sent Jenny in with her 3 clues. And me dropping dice. Going into the cup. It's never the guy who looks guilty. Keep that in mind. Good to know, and honestly, my suspicion has been aimed at Arthur pretty much this whole time. Let's see, that's 2 successes. Don't accuse right away. That's what I decided not to do. Now the question is, I've got 2 successes and I've got 2 rolls that I could convert into clues. The quiet, innocent ones I have to worry about. So I guess I'm
my initial eye is looking at Arthur, but I'm kind of looking at Ethel with a little bit of a side eye, but there's also a few other characters that we haven't met yet. And I think we're going to spend 2 clues, see if we can get some more information out of Officer Butler. So that's going to bring us up to 4 successes. So we'll convert those 2 into successes. A defeated look comes over Officer Butler's face. Look, I know what you're thinking, but I swear I didn't kill anyone. I'm a thief, all right, not a murderer. He takes a long draw from his cigarette, then exhales slowly. Just like Barbara, you have to watch the silent ones who seem nice. Yeah. When I saw Dot Rushford leave to get breakfast and William Rushford head toward the storage hold, I knew I had a small window. I was in their cabin for less than 10 minutes. I had just returned to the office after dropping the watch off in my locker when the alarm went up about the murder. I swear that's all I know. Gain a clue. The incriminating evidence. So it sounds like Dot Fisher and William Rushford were at least traveling together. We haven't met Dot yet, though. So, oh, right, that search token that Diana interacted with should be gone. And I believe Agnes is last to go again. So I think Agnes is going to move 1, 2, and interact with this Explore token. As you can see, I'm trying to keep the team... might be a little hard to see, but I am trying to keep the team roughly together. Cabin 2. This is the first class cabin assigned to the investigator, so this is our cabin. The first class cabin provided to you by Captain Pike is luxuriously decorated. We'll discard the Explore token. The contents of your luggage are neatly arranged around the room. It's a good thing you always come prepared for the worst situations. We'll grab the dynamite. You light the fuse and toss the explosive as an action. Flip this card and place it in a space within range. That'll have to be an action to go in and pick it up. But Agnes is now minus actions. You may move 1 space. Actually, she will. We'll plan on picking that up on her next turn. Just because I always like having ways to defend ourselves. And I think that is it for everybody, so I'm going to leave that over here just in case we need more explorers. I have to run for a few back soonish. All good, Jester, take your time. This is going to be a long scenario anyway, plus I've already been streaming for over an hour. But to be fair, a lot of that was setup time. Let's move into the Mythos phase. A senseless chatter rises, filling not just the air but Diana Stanley's mind. Diana suffers 2 horror, will plus 1 negates. So Diana's will is 2, plus 1 from the test is 3, plus another 1 because she's got the Disc of Itzamna, so she actually gets 4 dice. For every success Diana takes, she doesn't take 1 horror. She doesn't take 1 horror. She is going to take at least 1 horror. I'm going to spend her sanity's 6. Do I want to take a third of her horror? A third of her sanity? No, I don't. So I'm going to spend a die to convert 1 of those and only take 1 horror. Because that seems a lot better plan than taking a third of her sanity right off the bat. Alright, the rainstorm picks up pace and you notice that the sky has taken on an unnatural glittering black hue. The ship is rocked by turbulence as lightning cracks just off the starboard bow. Doubt creeps into your mind, and for a moment, you consider abandoning your efforts. Each investigator suffers 2 face-down horror, will negates. Alright, so we're rolling for everybody. Agnes has got a will of 3. Agnes is going to take 2 horror to the face, because she's got no clues to negate that. Jenny also has a will of 3, but she's got 2 clues.
Jenny will spend a clue to convert that and negate it completely. Carolyn has got a will of 5 and a boatload of clues. Oh, at the end of her turn, also, speaking of Carolyn, stressed should have gone away. Excuse me. Carolyn rolls it naturally. We'll take these successes for Diana. She has a will of 2 plus 1 for the disc of Examina. Gross. So Diana is now getting her... It's a good thing we negated the one horror earlier, but Diana's sanity has now been cut in half. Ursula also has a will of 3. That's a 1, so Ursula will... That's 1 success, so Ursula will negate 1 of it. And that will go right there. Back to the investigator phase. Let's see. What do we want to do here? Well, I think Agnes is going to start by picking up this dynamite. And then Agnes is going to start moving us deeper into the ship. Let's see. Diana is also going to start moving us a little bit deeper into the ship. 1, 2. 1, 2. We'll start opening up a bunch of that on the next round. As for Jenny, Carolyn, and Ursula, I think Ursula is going to... Let's see. Ursula is going to move in for... Actually, Ursula is going to move 1, 2, so I can have her interact with this Explore token. The store provides crew members direct access between the storage area and the crew quarters. The faint light in the storage hold only amplifies the sense of dread you get from the scene before you. Place the storage hold as indicated and discard all Explore tokens leading to it. Let's see, what did we say? Storage hold. Looks like a notification from my web browser on my laptop, so nothing to panic about. Yep, I reached for the right stack. We're looking for the storage hold. Baggage car. Storage hold. Here we go. The Explore tokens leading to it are here and here. Right, in the center of the room lies the body of the victim, William Rushford, surrounded by various occult symbols that appear to have been drawn using his blood. Place a search token, which I don't have a search token right here. I've got a whole bunch of Explorers, though. So we'll grab a search. And then we've got across the room, you see a middle-aged woman leaning over the body. Place a person token as indicated. Dr. Rose Barnett, the Stargazer Majestic's physician. Right. Dr. Rose Barnett. There we go. Then we've got a young woman standing above the body, taking notes in a worn notebook. Her eyes dart across the crime scene with a look of concentration on her face. Placing a person token for Dot Fisher, the coach passenger and traveling companion of the victim, William Rushford. And she's on a purple background. There you are. She goes up there. And we've got an overturned piece of luggage that has been pulled out of place and left opened. Place a search token. That goes up here. The lights in the room flicker rapidly, and for a moment, there are 3 large burning eyes in the darkness. They are fixated on you, and you find it hard to breathe. As terror grips at your heart, you find yourself unable to look away. Suddenly, the eyes disappear as the lights return to normal. Nobody else in the room appears to have noticed. Suffer one face-down horror. That's a face-down horror for Ursula. And then she can move one room into the explored area. She's going to move one for that, and that's where she's going to stay. She's not going to use her special ability this round. Can we interact with Dr. Barnett without using an action? We cannot. Unfortunately, that will be the end of Ursula's turn. We've got Jenny and Carolyn left to go. I don't think Jenny can get much more information out of Officer Butler, but let's see. Officer Butler is analyzing navigational charts at a small desk. His uniform, normally pristine, looks disheveled and sweat-soaked. You seem nervous. Everything okay? No, nothing is the matter. He wipes a bead of sweat from his brow. This murder has everyone on edge, and I'm just trying to maintain calm and order around here. He notices the food tray sitting on the desk for the first time and takes the opportunity to change the subject. Have you had a chance to eat breakfast? If not, you really need to. He points to the plate with his fork. This crimson carp is an Ethel Gibbs specialty. He hurriedly takes a bite, wiping the red sauce from his lips. I do love that girl. He takes another bite as he nervously continues his small talk. I have never met anyone so young that knows so much about the world. She certainly has an old soul. This is why, when we arrive in Arkham, I intend to propose to her. Does she now? As he finishes the last of his meal, he lights a cigarette. I really should get back to work, and I'm sure you have more important things to do than listen to me talk about my personal life. Let me know if you need anything else. Gain a clue. So that's another clue for Jenny. Incriminating evidence has been updated. We'll look at Officer Butler again. Do we want to ask who has access to the room? We might as well. Just the crew. He puts an unlit cigarette to his lips. Well, today it has also been available to you and Doc Fisher, the victim's bodyguard. Captain Pike said to give you both access. But I will tell you, this storm makes me nervous. I have been here all morning trying to figure out where it came from. Should you be smoking on a hydrogen airship? Or are you an officer or a butler? Yeah, that would kind of be a concern for me. Should you be smoking on a hydrogen airship? Because one thing I remember from my chemistry class is hydrogen plus flame equals a really loud pop or a brief flare of fire, which I always thought was cool when I was in high school, but that seems like at least a mild problem when you're on an airship powered by hydrogen. I mean, maybe you guys can tell me I'm crazy about that, but that's just the way I'd be looking at it. Actually, this is a helium dirigible. Well, that's a relief. That is a common misconception, though. I can assure you, smoking on board the ship is entirely safe. He lights the cigarette hanging from his mouth, then shuffles around the papers on the desk as if looking for something. Between Dr. Rose Barnett coming in to take a cigarette break, and you and Doc Fisher coming around asking questions, it has been hard to get anything accomplished this morning. Now, if you don't mind, I have work to do. Gain a clue. Well, that takes care of some of the relief. Because I thought this was a hydrogen airship, but it's helium. Let's see if we can get anything more. Nope. No more information from Officer Butler. So Jenny's done. As for Carolyn, she's going to move 1, 2, and interact with this. I think this is a letter from Ethel. A folded letter? Yep, let's interact with that on Ethel Gibbs' bedside table. You pick up the letter, immediately noticing the overly ornate handwriting. This writing style has long been out of use, especially within the working class. The letter is clearly romantic in nature. It starts with, "My dearest Jonathan Butler, I have lost much in the last few months, but finding you has returned me to a path I thought forever closed." The letter goes on to gush about their relationship. The end of the letter catches your attention, however. When I arrived in this time, I was adrift. Thank you for helping me find the way. Eternally yours, Ethel. As you go to return the letter, you notice a pendant sitting on the table. Gain the elder sign common item, then discard. So that's for Carolyn. And adrift in this time. The Elder Sign for Carolyn says, roll 1 additional die when evading a monster. Well, Carolyn's primary objective is going to be running away from monsters from the looks of it. Incriminating evidence has been updated. This search token is also gone. And that brings us back to the Mythos phase. We'll go ahead and flip everybody face up. Excuse me. And away we go. It appears that Doc Fisher has concluded her investigation of the crime scene. Remove her from the board. Okay, we can do that. I'm going to keep her close, though, just in case we need her again. The wind howls throughout the ship, echoing down the hallway. This Mythos event affects the investigator with the lowest will in the space with the most investigators. That's actually tied for everybody because we're all split up, even if we're roughly in the same area of the ship. So I think the simplest way to do this is to roll... What did I do with my D6? I think it looks like I put it back in the bag. No, I didn't. Hold on. Because this set should have... Oh, I did put it back in the bag. I was going to say the set of dice that I was using should have 4d6 in it. So since everybody's tied for 1, actually, with the lowest will in the space of the most investigators, so I could theoretically have this affect Carolyn. Let's not just pick like that. Let's go 1 for Agnes, 2 for Jenny, 3 for Carolyn, 4 for Diana, 5 for Ursula, 6 is a reroll. It's a 4, so, this could be a problem. It's going to affect Diana. Diana, a pressure builds at the back of your mind and you feel a sudden urge to strike your fellow investigators. Suffer 2 horror, will negates. She gets 3 dice because her will is 2, but she's got the Disc of Itzamna. And no clues. She'll suffer 1. If you suffer any horror, each other investigator in your space suffers 1 face-down damage. Fortunately, we've got nobody else in the space, but Diana will suffer a face-down horror. Back to the investigator phase. Let's see, we could have Jenny go back. We could have Jenny go back and set up to talk to Ethel about the letter next turn, because she could go, actually... Yeah, I think either way. She'd go 1, 2, and then 1 to get over to Ethel. Let's have Ursula start down here first. So we'll have her start off by looking at the body. The body of William Rushford lies face down, surrounded by dark occult symbols written in blood. There's an acrid stench in the air. Let's examine the crime scene. You bend down to examine William Rushford's lifeless body. The first thing you notice is the large laceration across his throat, the blood still pooling beneath it. You fight the urge to retch. Suffer a face-down horror, will negates. Her will is 3. And she's got a clue, but 1 horror is not that bad, especially since she's got a maximum sanity of 7. Which... she's actually just going to eat that, save the clue for later. Because again, it's one horror. I'm not too worried about it at this stage of the game. As you step back, you can see that the blood appears to have been drawn to resemble wings spreading out from the victim's body. Other intricate symbols have also been drawn in blood around the room. Lore. Her lore is 4. This might be worth that aforementioned clue. Which we are going to use to bring that up to 3 successes. I've been finding that for the most part, 3 successes is usually where you start getting good results. You realize that these blood-drawn symbols are typically associated with a summoning ritual. Oh, great. You can feel the mystical energies about the room. You can't begin to imagine the foul creature that has been drawn into this world with this ritual. I have a feeling we're about to find out, though. You also recognize the symbols as the same ones found on the hilt of the ritual dagger you found on the observation deck. It seems obvious that the dagger is the murder weapon, and whoever placed it there is your murderer. As you turn away, You notice a small burn on the victim's lapel along with some ash smeared across his jacket. Looking around, you realize that none of the components appear to have been burned in any way. If William Rushford did not smoke, then perhaps his murderer did. This could be a key piece of evidence in the investigation. Gain the missing link unique item, then discard this search token. Let's see, missing link. With this, everything falls into place. And that's for Ursula. Maybe the victim's traveler, Dot Fisher, can tell you if the victim was a smoker, except Dot just left the board, so that's not going to be very helpful. The incriminating evidence has been updated. Well, failing Dot, perhaps Dr. Barnett can tell us a little bit more. Let's see. Dr. Rose Barnett, the ship's doctor, is hunched over the body of William Rushford. First question we're going to ask is, what can you tell me about the body, Doctor? Our victim had his throat slashed. The laceration angle and direction indicate that the victim was facing his attacker. She leans in closer to the body. This blood is very strange. It is nearly black and much more congealed than it should be. Gain a clue. Interesting. That'll be it for Ursula's turn. Well, things are taking a turn. Well, we know Arthur. We know Arthur had some occult symbols. Let's see. What do we want to do here, though? I think Agnes and Diana are probably going to start unlocking some of these rooms. We'll have Agnes interact with this Explore token. The door placard reads Cabin 3. This is the cabin of William Rushford and Dot Fisher. The coach cabin is sparsely decorated. A large bed dominates the space while a sleeping bag has been laid out on the floor next to it. Discard this Explorer token and place the cabin 3 as indicated. Here we go. Alright, cabin 3 goes like so. The Explorer goes away. We presumably won't need it in here. And we just found Dot Fisher. We also find protruding from under one of the pillows on the bed appears to be a worn book for a search token. Alright, Agnes will move in. What does Agnes's influence look like? Agnes has got a 4 influence, so if we have to try to get some information, she's got a decent shot at that. Let's see what we can do with Dot. Dot Fisher is looking around the room while writing in a small notebook. Our options are you were traveling with William Rushford. Any idea what this ritual could be about? How's the investigation going? Looks like we've got more. Was William Rushford a smoker? Well, let's ask that question first. Absolutely not. He was asthmatic. It was also a condition of employment when I was brought on board, so I've never smoked either. Why do you ask? Found some ash on the body. Interesting. Dot Fisher writes something in her notebook. Thank you for that. I know you have no reason to trust me, but I think we might be able to help each other in this investigation. I can assure you that neither William nor I smoke. Gain a clue. That's Agnes getting the clue. And that'll be it for her turn. Which updates the incriminating evidence. Oh, what do we want to do here? Well, I think we're going to need to get the... Let's see, so Ursula and Agnes have both gone. I think I am going to have Jenny start moving back in that direction, see if we can talk to Ethel a little bit more. So unfortunately, Jenny is going to have one of her actions go to waste. 1, 2... Actually, Wait a second. Do I want to talk to... Let me see if I can talk to Officer Butler with some of the new information that we've got. Nope. Okay, so... Unfortunately, Jenny has no actions she can take right now other than to move 1, 2, and set herself up to talk to Ethel next turn. Well, I'll think about what I want to do with Jenny. I've got Diana, Carolyn, and Ursula still to... Or not... Diana... I've got Diana and Carolyn also still to go. I think I'm going to have Diana start exploring a little bit of this terrain. So... Let's see if we can do something about this. And I think this was the engine room. It appears to be the engine room. It's locked. Well, let's start exploring some of these other explore tiles. We'll start off with cabin 4. We'll go there next. Sign reads cabin 4. This is the cabin of Fred Cooper, the man who found the body this morning. We'll explore that. As the door opens, the stench of pipe smoke and sweat fills the air. The lights are off and a series of lit candles form a pattern across the floor. Well, discard this explore token. That's mildly curious, at least. A bearded man is sitting on the edge of the bed, holding a worn tobacco pipe in one hand. He has a defeated and nervous look on his face. Place a person token as indicated. This is Fred Cooper, a coach passenger. Well. So now we know now we found we found another smoker. Which we think if we think our murderer smoked, that's kind of tipping me. Hope you didn't miss too much. Not particularly, Jester. We're still kind of figuring out the layout of the ship and figuring out a little bit more about the suspects. Candles have been arranged in an intricate pattern on the floor. Place a search token. The one problem there is this. I believe this is a room in. Well, fortunately, it's not a room in darkness. At least not in the sense of we can't spend clues for additional moves or to convert dice. Diana, her influence is not great at 3. But I think she can interact with a search token without too much trouble. So let's do that. Candles have been arranged in an intricate pattern on the floor. Let's search that. You try to discern the true purpose of what clearly is a ritual, lore. Diana's got 5 dice for lore, so let's see what happens here. That is 2 successes. Unfortunately, she doesn't have the clue to make that a 3rd, but let's see if 2 is enough. I doubt it's going to be, but let's find out. You pry a candle from the floor to examine it. Gain the candle's common item. Examining the symbols etched in the wax, you can confirm this ritual is intended to ward off misfortune. Gain a clue and place darkness in your space, then discard. Okay, so let's deal with that in order. Let's get the candles out first. Candles are a light source. I was talking about this very briefly earlier, but now is where it's going to come into play. You may discard this card to convert all magnifying glasses to elder signs while casting a spell. We might want to consider moving that over to Agnes, since she's going to be our primary spellcaster. We gain a clue and place darkness in her space. Then discard. Okay, so that actually we can leave that close as well. We're probably going to need that when we continue exploring. With the light from the candle extinguished, the room plunges into complete darkness. You hear the flapping of wings, and for a brief moment you feel a sudden rush of wind that sends a chill up your spine. Suffer 1 face-down horror. That could be a problem, especially since Diana is now 1 horror from gaining an insane condition. Because the way sanity works, the way damage and sanity work is you take up to your face up to your maximum. Then you gain I believe it's a wounded condition if you max out on damage, or a different insane condition if you or an insane condition if you max out on sanity. And I'll explain more about how those work if they happen. Let's see. Can we interact with Fred without using an action? No. Let's see. Jenny. Okay, so that's it for Diana's turn. Jenny and Carolyn. I'm going to have Carolyn move 1, 2. And then the question now is, who do I want to have Carolyn potentially go help? Carolyn's got an influence of 4. So if we need to get information out of either one of them, we probably want decent influence. But Agnes has got an influence of 4. She's probably got Dot pretty well covered, so I think Carolyn is going to go help Diana out. Plus, Diana's got the candle as a light source if we need that. And then I think Jenny is going to move over toward Ethel. She's going to move 1, 2, 1, and let her second move go to waste. I definitely want to get more information from Ethel about that old soul in that letter that she sent to Jonathan. To Officer Butler, I should say. And the investigator phase into the mythos phase we go. The corridor stretches on forever, lined with countless doors. This mythos event affects an investigator in an alley or hall who has suffered the most horror. Nobody is in. There's no alley spaces here, obviously, since we're on a dirigible, and our only hall spaces are up here, so nobody's in a hall space. A torrential rain begins to assault the ship. As another bout of turbulence rocks the dirigible, a wave of vertigo passes through you and you stumble. Each investigator moves 1 space toward the cabin 3. Agnes is already there, so she doesn't move. Carolyn and Diana move there. Jenny is going to move over here. It's not going to hurt her too much, since that's going to just pull her slightly away from Ethel. An oily presence in your mind calls forward the deep-seated fears. Could everyone on board be guilty? Is this all an elaborate plot to humiliate you? Each investigator suffers 2 horror will negates. This could be a problem, although Diana now has a clue. Agnes first with a will of 3. And Agnes has a clue as well. Which Agnes... I don't like the idea of taking 2 horror, but I think Agnes can absorb it a little. I think Agnes can absorb it with a sanity of 7. So Agnes is going to take 2 horror. Jenny with a will of 3 as well. Jenny will negate that. That was a pristine roll from Jenny. Carolyn with a will of 5 and 4 clues. If Carolyn takes horror from this, I would be very surprised. Carolyn will negate that with no problem. Diana is the one that's going to give us the most trouble. She's got a will of 2, but she gets an extra die because of the Disc of Itzamna during the Mythos phase. If all of these turn into... Actually, if one of these can't be converted, Diana will have to take her insane condition. Diana will negate that. She gets away with 1. Ursula also with a will of 3. Ursula's got a clue. Ursula will take 1. Her max is 7. I want to set on her clue for a little bit later. Just in case I need it. Back to the investigator phase. Fortunately, Agnes didn't leave cabin 3. And that's where she's going to talk to Dot first things first. Let's see. Actually, do we want to have her talk, or do we want to have her interact with a search token? What is the search token? Book of Haste has been hastily shoved underneath one of the pillows on the bed. Let's interact with that, actually. You pick up what appears to be an old journal. Flipping through it, you realize that it must be the journal of William Rushford. The entries span over 50 years. Gain the old journal unique item, then discard this search token. An investigator holding the old journal unique item can read its entries by interacting with it in the app. So we'll discard the search token, which I'm going to leave over here. And we'll get the old journal. This journal entry in the culprit's own handwriting is practically a confession. That goes over to Agnes. All right, let's see if we need an action to interact with that. We do. Yeah, let's read it. The journal dates back over 50 years. The early entries detail William Rushford's involvement with the Church of Starry Wisdom. When the church was forcibly disbanded, Rushford, a fiery and devoted youth, set forth to England to form a new sect. As the journal continues, you see William Rushford's growing concern over the morality of his actions. He speaks of regret and his need to correct his terrible mistakes. He talks about his failure to disband the cult and, in response to a failed assassination attempt, how he fled England and went into hiding. Gain a clue. And incriminating evidence again. Still more entries to read. Okay, which presumably those will take additional actions. But Agnes gets a clue, and that will be it for her turn. Jenny is going to move down. For one, she's got to move banked, but she will talk to Ethel next. Still nothing to say. That was unfortunately a waste then. But at least I had something resembling a plan. We'll move Jenny up there. So essentially we're moving Jenny back up. We're going to send her back in this direction. As for our other three, let's have Ursula. We're going to have Ursula interact with this search token down here. An overturned piece of luggage lies open on the floor. Let's take a look. The tag marks the luggage as belonging to Fred Cooper. Among the contents, you find a strange scrapbook with newspaper clippings detailing gruesome murders and suspicious deaths. The first page has an old article detailing the deaths of a husband and wife, Joseph and Margaret Cooper. The story talks about how a freak accident robbed a small boy of both his parents outside Miskatonic University. Accompanying the article, the photo shows a young boy, unnamed, talking to a police officer while the covered bodies of his parents rest in the foreground. Flipping through the rest of the scrapbook, you see dozens of articles highlighting deaths related to suspicious or unusual circumstances, including a recent article about a rash of deaths related to a new exhibit at the Miskatonic Museum. Uh-oh. As you return the journal to the suitcase, you notice a leather-bound book resting inside. Gain the Diver's Journal common asset, then discard. Wait, Diver's Journal, not Diver's Helmet. The Diver's Journal is a tome. You may ignore water. Roll one additional die while attacking a monster with the aquatic ability. That is going to Ursula, then discard the search. Alright, so that's gone. And maybe we should ask Fred Cooper about the scrapbook. That actually wouldn't be a bad idea. Ursula is going to move 1, 2. That way she can pop this search token on her next turn. As for Carolyn and Diana, though, her influence is not terrible at 3. That's Diana I'm looking at. Carolyn's got an influence of 4. Let's have Diana go, actually. I need to, in case I need to convert dice, I need Diana in the room because Diana's got our light source. So I think I am going to have her go in first. She'll talk to Fred Cooper. Let's see what we can ask him about. So we've got what is with all these candles? Tell me what happened this morning, or what happened to your parents. Let's ask him the obvious question first. What's with all these candles? Fred Cooper starts to speak, then lets out a deep sigh, his gravelly voice matching his rough features. You cannot possibly understand. He's talking to a cult. He's talking to a former cultist. Diana's like, try me. You explain that you want to hear him out. Influence. Unfortunately, Diana's influence isn't great, but we can send Carolyn in. Sure, sacrifice the woman. Barbara, this is all women on the team. And the reason I'm sending Diana in is because in case I need to convert dice, she's got our light source. If we're in a darkness space, which right now Cabin 4 is, you can't convert clues, you can't convert your magnifying glasses to successes unless you have a light source, and Diana has our light source. I promise there's a logic behind it. Ugh, gross. One success probably isn't going to be enough. So I'm not going to bother. Fred listens to what you have to say and then shakes his head unconvinced. I think Diana is going to have to stay in the room, though. Especially if I'm going to bring Carolyn in with clues, which I am going to do. Carolyn's going to move in. She's going to try her luck with Fred. Carolyn's influence is 4, and now that Diana is... Yeah, folks. Carolyn's got an influence of 4, and because Diana's in the room with the candle and being a light source, Carolyn can spend her clues to convert dice. Which 2 successes, let's see if that's going to be enough. It is. He holds up his hands in defeat, then reluctantly nods. All right, fine. He takes a draw from his pipe. This ritual, it is supposed to remove my family's curse. He shifts uncomfortably. Ever since I was young, terrible things happened around me, starting with the death of my parents. Since then, everywhere I go, people end up dead. As you can see, my ritual has not been successful. No kidding. Because we've got people ending up dead. I understand that this looks very suspicious. I have spent much of my life studying the occult. He points to one of the symbols on the floor. That is a protective ward. It is designed specifically to keep evil spirits away. Take a look yourself if you don't believe me. Gain a clue. Carolyn will go up to 5 clues with that. The incriminating evidence has been updated. Unless I'm Jean Grey, I protect her well for some reason. Yeah. We still have a couple of interact options with with Fred Cooper, but there's nothing more we can do right now. We are going to move into the mythos phase. And I dropped my mini card for Diana on the floor, because of course I did. Alright. Into the mythos phase. It appears that Doc Fisher has concluded her investigation of the victim's cabin and has moved her investigation to the observation deck. Moved Dot to viewing room 2. Right on top of Jenny, turns out. Maybe Jenny can get some more information there. A shimmering wind rushes through the gondola. This mythos event affects the investigator with the lowest will. That would be Diana. The air is sucked away as the wind rushes by. Black spots begin to appear at the edge of your vision, and you struggle for breath. Strength and needs 2 successes. Diana's strength is 3. Question: have I ever played the Call of Cthulhu LCG? I have not played the Call of Cthulhu RPG. I think that actually went out of print before I even got into Arkham Horror LCG. So no, I have not played the Call of Cthulhu LCG. That's going to be a fail. So, if you fail, you lose consciousness for a moment before your lungs finally fill with air, suffer 2 face-down damage and 1 horror, then become stunned. So the 2 damage goes on there. Unfortunately, because Diana has 5 face-down horror on her, and she's suffering her 6th, she will end up with an insane condition. Actually, I'm going to give the deck a quick shuffle. Hopefully you guys are enjoying a little Sunday morning Mansions of Madness. Alright, we'll flip that. And then we'll get an insane card, which says, look at the back of this card, but don't reveal it to the other investigators. When you have suffered horror equal to your sanity, you're eliminated. We'll give these a shuffle as well. And then we'll see what happens on the back. It's your favorite LCG, but 2-player and competitive, not co-op. And no solo mode. Game is really cool. Well, unfortunately, you've probably just listed off a few reasons why the Call of Cthulhu LCG will almost certainly never enter my collection. Just finished your breakfast, working on more coffee. All good, Barbara. We're taking our usual trip through insanity. So let's see well, speaking of insanity, once I get that moved back, let's see what Diana's insane condition is. Restless anxiety. You are suddenly stricken with the sense that your life up to this point has not only been boring but pointless. Life is too short to not experience as much of the world as possible. Variety is the spice of life, after all. Oh, fantastic. You cannot perform any single action more than once each round. You win or lose the game as normal. As for the stunned condition, here we are. Stunned. You've got to be kidding me this round. Thinking of getting the game again and seeing if you can make a solo mode for it. That's why you asked if I played or not. All good, Jester. Hopefully you can come up with a solo mode. As for stunned for Diana, she can't perform more than a single action during her turn. At the end of her turn, discard this card. So fortunately, it's only a one-turn condition, which is something, I guess. Back to the investigator phase. So, Well, let's see if Jenny can interact with Dot anymore. Yeah, she can. Do we want to use Jenny to try to get some more information out of... Yeah, we'll have Jenny try to get a little more information. You were traveling with William Rushford? I was. I served him as a personal bodyguard. He always talked about his past coming to haunt him and some unseen dark force at work. I know you have no reason to trust me, but I want to bring his murderer to justice even more than you do. She lets out a sigh of frustration. I just don't understand why he left the cabin while I was grabbing us breakfast. He knew he was not supposed to go anywhere without me. It just doesn't make sense. Gain a clue. Wonder why Dot was trying to stick to him like glue. We'll talk to her again, since fortunately Jenny can take the same action each round. Any idea what the ritual could be about? He said... Okay, so he looks around uncomfortably. William Rushford kept a journal. He was always writing in it. Occasionally he would talk to himself as he wrote. She pauses, looking at you. I know this sounds crazy, but he mentioned that some cult needed his blood for a dark purpose. He mumbled about being in hiding in order to prevent an unspeakable horror from being unleashed upon the world. I can feel a strange energy in this place, and I worry that whatever ritual was started here will have dire consequences for us all if we do not stop it soon. We have to uncover this cultist and stop this ritual at any cost. Gain a clue. So that'll bring Jenny up to 5 clues. But that's also the end of her turn. Let's see. As for the others... incriminating evidence has been updated. Let's see. As for the others... Excuse me. I think I'm going to need to get the dice tower... Excuse me, I am gaseous this morning. We're going to get the dice tower out of the way since Ursula's going to see about popping this explore token. The door to the medical office stands slightly ajar. Alright, Dr. Rose Barnett's desk dominates one half of the room, while an examination table and locked cabinets fill the other half. Discard this Explorer token and place the medical office and a wall as indicated. So medical office is, okay, in the Horrific Journeys set. Oop. Well, I sent a tile flying, but it's not the one I'm after, so that's something, I guess. Ah, here's the medical office. So that goes here, and I need a wall to go over here. And I think this is the wall I want. Yes. We'll put that right there. And we have a locked cabinet standing against one wall filled with various medications in neat rows. Place a search token right here. Fortunately, I kept a few right here. Let me move one space in, and Ursula will move in. We'll take a look at this cabinet as well. As you stand at the threshold of the room, the air pressure drops and you feel a strong wind brush against your skin, across your skin. The room is thrown into pitch blackness, yet you can somehow make out a large bat-like shape surging toward you, its 3 burning eyes piercing your soul. That is not good. You find yourself rooted in place, and just before the massive shape reaches you, it disappears. Suffer 1 face-down horror, then place darkness in your space. So we'll grab another horror for Ursula, and then place darkness in her space. Alright. And Ursula is going to interact with a search token. If it's a puzzle, a locked cabinet stands against the wall. It is filled with various medications in neat rows. We're going to try to bypass the lock. Remember, because Ursula is in darkness, she can't spend clues for additional puzzle moves, assuming this is a puzzle. This combination lock looks simple enough. Tap to attempt the puzzle using observation. Ursula's observation is 4. So let's see what this puzzle looks like. Oh, great. It's a mastermind puzzle. Elder sign is correct position. Magnifying glass is correct symbol. So, which means the puzzle is in, which means this number's in. Let's start off with 1, 2, 3, 4. See if we can get anything from that. All right, 1's right, 2 are in, but in the wrong position. Let's go 1, 3, 1, 2. 1's right, 2 are wrong. So that tells me the 1 is almost certainly the first number. I don't know if you guys can see what I'm actually looking at on the puzzle. It's actually hard to read the iPad. I have to zoom in on that. So the 1 is definitely the first number. The 3 and the 2 are probably in this. So let's go 1. Let's go 1, 1. No, that's not what I wanted to do. Let's close. I think we got to close that out. I still have 2 more. I still have 2 more moves for Ursula. Let's go 1, 1, 3, 2. Okay, so the 1 is wrong. Oh, I was looking at it backwards. Okay, so let's try 1, 4, 3, 2. Nope. 3 are in the right position. So, or 3 are in the puzzle, are in the combination, but the wrong position. So that will have to close us out of that. That will be the end of Ursula's turn. As for Diana, now she is got restless anxiety. So we can get the iPad out of the way. She's got restless anxiety and she's stunned. So I think what I'm going to have Diana do... Actually, let's have Carolyn go first. That way, in case I need to convert clues, the light source... In case I need to convert clues while talking to Fred, the light source is still in the room. But ultimately, I am going to end up having Diana come over here so she can help Ursula with that puzzle. Again, we need the light source in there so we can convert clues. All right, Fred, let's ask
what happened this morning. Fred stares blankly at the wall across from him. I had forgotten some important items in my luggage and went to retrieve them. He takes a long draw from his pipe, a sad look on his face. When I got to the storage hold, I managed to get my luggage open before seeing the blood. That is what I saw first. The black, oozing blood everywhere. I'm pretty sure I yelled for help, but after that, everything is a haze. Listen, I have studied rituals. He shifts uncomfortably, then takes a long draw on his pipe. The ritual that was started in that room, he pauses and his eyes glaze over for a moment. It is not natural. The blood was too dark. The symbol's sinister. I do not know exactly what it does, but I can tell you that it is not good. Not for any of us. As if on cue, lightning flashes out the window. Gain a clue. Right, that's Carolyn up to 6 clues. The incriminating evidence has been updated. And Carolyn's got one more action. So what happened to your parents? Tears start to well up in Fred Cooper's eyes. To this day, I still cannot explain it. We were walking home from dinner. I remember a dark lightning flash, a sharp sting of pain in my temples, and... As his voice trails off, Fred Cooper squeezes his eyes shut. After taking a moment to compose himself, he turns to you, a haunted look on his face. I did not kill this man, but I have seen darkness like this before, and I know that whoever did kill this man has an evil purpose in mind. I suggest you find his murderer as soon as possible, or this storm is going to get much, much worse. Gain a clue. So that'll bring Carolyn up to 7 clues. It'll also end her turn, with the incriminating evidence having been updated. Diana is going to move down into this room. That will end her turn because she was stunned. As for Agnes, I think she is going to keep reading the journal. Let's see, that is the old journal that she's got. Read another entry. The closing entries detail William Rushford's return to Arkham to stop a terrible ritual. He speaks of a fear that the Starry Wisdom might try once more to kill him and use his blood for a final ritual to summon the Haunter. That can't be good. The last few entries seem frantic as Rushford realizes that he may have put himself and the world in danger by returning to Arkham. His final entry is as follows. Could it be? After all these years, a specter from the past has finally come to haunt me. If only I had realized sooner, but now I fear it's too late. Gain a clue, then become focused. Focused says, you may discard this card to convert all magnifying glasses to elder signs while resolving a test. That could be very useful. And then I think that is... Well, let's see if that's the end of the old journal. You read through all the relevant entries. Okay, so what direction do we want Agnes to move in now? I have a feeling, well, I'm getting a little metagamey here, but I think something is going to be getting ready to happen in the engine room. So... I don't know if we've really found much of anything. So far, the only thing we've found is that Arthur seems to have the cultist. But let's actually move Agnes down here since I'm expecting something to happen soonish in the engine room. We'll flip everybody face up, and we'll go into the mythos phase. The objects Ursula Downs has collected become crushing weights, punishing her tired limbs. Ursula Downs suffers 2 damage, strength negates. Her strength is 3. Fortunately, Diana's in the room with a light source, so Ursula can spend clues if she needs to. She will spend a clue. The reason I'm doing that is because, well, A, to negate the damage, and B, for each damage she suffers, she would have dropped a random item. Fortunately, Ursula has nothing that she needs to worry about there. And Ursula actually Ursula did have an additional step while attempting a puzzle. So I'll give her an extra step when we get back to the investigator phase.
The Stargazer Majestic is tossed by fierce winds, throwing everyone aboard to the floor. Each investigator suffers 1 damage. We'll deal with that first, but there is more to the card, more to the text, because of course there is. Make a little bit room for Jenny to start taking damage and sanity. You find yourself entranced by the storm, the wind and the skies calling out your name. A strange and foreign thought fills your mind. If you killed everyone on board, the murderer would be dead too. I mean, not wrong, but you force yourself to breathe, panic setting in around you. Each investigator suffers 2 horror, will negates. Agnes with a 3. She's got clues, so she's not worried about going insane here. But she will negate that anyway. Jenny also with 3. Jenny also with 3 will. She's taken no horror this scenario, and she's got a boatload of clues. None of which she needs to use. Carolyn, same scenario. She's got a will of 5 and also a boatload of clues. She's in darkness though, so her clues don't matter because she is in darkness. She can't spend her clues to convert dice. But hopefully 5 will be enough, and it will be. Carolyn will negate. Diana with a will of 2, plus 1 for the Disc of Examina, bringing her up to 3 dice. Diana will take 1. And remember, that's 1 of 6 to ever go insane and be eliminated. Ursula with a will of 3, if she takes 2... she's got no clues, so if she takes 2, Ursula goes insane as well. Excuse me, that is 1... yeah, she can take 1. Okay. Alright, back to the investigator phase. I'm going to give Ursula the additional move on her puzzle first. I forgot she had the pocket watch, which gave her an additional step while attempting a puzzle. So, looking at our combination, we had one of the numbers right, so let's go... let's see, so between these first 2 guesses, we've had 2 numbers right. I initially thought the 1 was right, and that's what I was going with. So let's try 2, 3, 4, 1. Alright, 1's right, 1's right, 2 are in but in the wrong position. Let's go with 2, 4, 1, 1. Well, this is actually starting into Ursula's turn now. So this is her first action. Ursula will have a total of 5 moves on this. 2 are right. Let's go 2, 4, 3, 3. So probably the 2 and the 4 are right. Let's go 2, 4, 2, 4. 1's right, one's right, another's in the wrong position. Let's go with 2, 2, 4, 1. 2 are right, 1's in the wrong position. Alright, so this is now the pocket watch step. Let's go 2, 2, 1, 4. 3 are right. Let's go 2, 2, 2, 4, as we're now into Ursula's second action. 2, 2, 3, 3. 3 are right, so 8. How about 2, 2, 1, 3. There we go, got it. With the cabinet unlocked, you find a letter and photograph hidden behind some of the medicine bottles. The letter is addressed to the doctor. It claims that the writer knows about the doctor's past and will expose it to the captain if she does not do what the author wants. Blackmail, huh? The photograph shows a large group of people gathered together, almost like a family portrait. A face is circled in red, and the name Florence Stagg is scribbled across it. Upon close inspection, you realize the circled face is of a much younger Dr. Rose Barnett. As you search the photograph for other familiar faces, you see a young William Rushford at the center of the photograph, the rest of those gathered purposely surrounding him. You flip the photograph over and see a caption that reads, Rushford, Holloway, and Stagg Families, London, May 1887. This is a game set in the 1920s. They'd have to be a lot. They either were very young or something's not adding up. You are just about to put the photo away when a face in the background catches your attention. A woman in a servant's outfit stands at the edge of the photograph, nearly out of frame. If the photograph was not over 40 years old, you would swear that the woman was Ethel Gibbs, the young stewardess aboard the Stargazer Majestic. Gain the photographic evidence unique item, then discard. There's something about Ethel that's not adding up. The proof can be seen clear as day. Something about Ethel is not adding up. After considering the information from William Rushford's journal alongside the photograph, you are convinced that someone related to this photograph killed William Rushford for fleeing the Starry Wisdom cult. Perhaps the people involved in the photograph can explain the relationship with the victim. In addition, you might also want to ask Dr. Rose Barnett about the blackmail letter. Yeah. That was kind of a thought I was having. So that search token is gone. Unfortunately, that is the end of Ursula's turn. And because of her insanity condition, Diana can't... Well, if Diana had enough moves... 1, 2, 3, 4. If Diana was able to take the same action twice, she could get down to Rose and ask about it, but she can't. Let me look at the intercom here. The intercom is attached to the wall between the largest of the observation windows. Upon closer inspection, you notice that the wires have been pulled out. In its current state, the intercom will not function properly. Let's have Jenny see what she can do about fixing it. She's also got a boatload of clues. I have a feeling this is going to turn into a puzzle. Unscrewing the faceplate, you notice that some of the wires appear to have been purposely sabotaged. You will have to reconnect the wires properly. Tap to attempt the puzzle using observation. So this one is a rotation puzzle where we need to get everything... we need to connect this to that. The question is how. Well, the first thing... Actually, I assume we can both... Yeah, we can rearrange pieces like that and rotate them. So... Jenny's what did we say? Her observation is 3. She's got a boatload of clues, though. So... Okay, so we've got a bunch of connector rows at the bottom. We need to get those... moved around is what we need to do. I think the way we do this is I'm going to move... Let's see, we're going to take... I think we take this up, move that up as well, rotate that. I need to rotate that to the right to make that connection. Then we're going to go... Then for her second action should be enough to let us go like this. Perfect. We made the connection. So that will consist of Jenny's entire turn, though. The ship's intercom has now been repaired. When you are confident that you have gathered enough evidence to make an accusation, you can contact Captain Pike. You will need to know what key pieces of evidence are that link your suspects to the murder, as well as where that evidence was found. Okay, and I assume that's going to cost us an action. Yep. Make sure you reviewed your incriminating evidence, including the key pieces of evidence and where you found them. You will not be able to gather... Okay, so let's continue to investigate. We'll reveal the incriminating evidence. Fortunately, this doesn't cost me an action. Let's see. Tobacco ash was discovered on the lapel of William at Rushford's body at the crime scene. He doesn't smoke. We knew that. Let's see. A scrapbook was found. Scrapbook with newspaper clippings of gruesome murders and Fred Cooper's luggage. I should be scribbling some notes here. Let me find a... Fortunately, I've got pens. I've got a pen, and I need a notebook. All right, we're going to have to make some notes here. Let's see. Okay. Actually, I'm just going to put it down here. Love letter on Ethel's bedside table. In this time, blackmail letter in Dr. Barnett's in the medical office. Dr. Barnett's indiscretions. And threatens to expose her. Photograph. The photograph with young William Rushford. RB circled in red. 1887. Ethel Gibbs in photo. Journal of William Rushford, Starry Wisdom. Starry Wisdom Cult. And Feared for Life. Traveling to Arkham. Convinced that someone related to the photograph killed William Rushford for fleeing the Starry Wisdom cult. Alright, Ritual Dagger. So we know the Ritual Dagger is the murder weapon. Murder weapon with black blood. Occult symbols in the hilt. Hidden under the breakfast buffet table. Clipboard with complaints. Various items. Pocket watch. Pocket watch with our WR initials. In Butler's locker. He stole watch. After watching them leave, his claim that he must have been in the Rushford cabin while the murder was taking place. as murder happened. All right, there was a little bit more evidence that I needed to review, though. So I'm cycling through this again so I can get the rest of my notes up to date. Tobacco ash on lapel. Rushford didn't smoke. Let's see, scrapbook of murders and deaths. Murders and deaths in Fred Cooper's luggage. And detailed parent's death. Okay, so I'm thinking that Fred Cooper probably isn't the murderer, because if he was going, he said he was going to look for that scrapbook earlier, so that could be how the ash got on him. I wish we could dust that for fingerprints, but I think this is probably before any time of that. Alright, let's cancel that. We'll look at the suspects a little bit later. We do have... We do still have Agnes, Carolyn, and Diana to go, and I've already been streaming for over 2.5 hours. But that's why I wanted to start setting aside some time to go through some of these longer games. Let's see, what do we want to have all of our investigators do? I think we're going to have Agnes move down here and plan on asking Dr. Barnett next round about that blackmail letter, because I want to try to get some more about it out of her. Then Diana is going to move... Ultimately, she's going to have to move 1, 2. She's going to have to move and then forfeit her second action. Unless I want to have her take sedatives, which... I'm actually going to start moving Diana in this direction as well. Like I said, I do have to forfeit her action, though. As for Carolyn... Is there anything more we can talk to Fred about? Nope. Alright, so Carolyn is going to move 1, 2. And then she is going to use her special action. If you or another investigator within range. Actually, we can still use that on Ursula, because range is within 3 spaces, so Ursula will discard one of her face-down horror. And that'll bring us to the Mythos phase. Okay, a specter from Jenny Barnes' past rises from the ground to drag on her limbs. Jenny suffers 2 horror lore negates. Her lore is 3, and she's got a boatload of clues she can spend. What was it? 2 horror. She'll spend one of her 5 clues to negate that. Mostly so I'm never taking horror. If Jenny suffers 1 or more horror, she discards an improvement. She doesn't have an improvement. Uh-oh. One of the front observation windows shatters from the torrential onslaught, and the stinging wind blows through the dirigible. The vessel struggles to push forward against this new force. As the air around you darkens, you feel a malevolent presence within it trying to bend you to its will. You scream your throat raw as you force the being from your mind. Each investigator suffers 3 horror and 1 face-down damage. Will negates. That's gross. Agnes has got a will of 3. She's also got 3 clues. She's taking at least 1 of these. She's not in darkness. No. She's going to spend a clue to negate... she can't... 3 horror and 1 damage. She's going to negate 2 of the horror. So she'll take a face-down damage and a face-down horror. That'll bring Agnes to within 1 of going insane herself. Jenny also has a will of 3 and still her boatload of clues. Which she will use, she's got 4 clues. She'll use 2 of them to convert 2 dice. She's not in a darkness space. She will negate 2 of the horror as well. She'll take 1 of each. Carolyn has a will of 5. She's the only one who could potentially negate this completely. She's also got half a dozen clues. So yeah, Carolyn could negate this completely. She's the only one though. And Carolyn will spend a clue to negate it completely. Very nicely done, Dr. Fern. Diane is the one in the most danger though, because she's got a will of 2 plus 1 for the disc of Itzamna to 3 dice. She's already gone insane, though. Well, we are going to spend a clue so we can convert 1 of those dice. She's got to cancel 1 of the horror, though, so she's going to take 2 face-down horror and 1 face-down damage. So 2 and 1. Ursula has a will of 3, but she's in darkness. She can't spend actually she doesn't have any clues anyway. And that's a problematic roll, so Ursula takes the face down damage and now also goes insane. 5, 6, 7. And I think she'll end up with 1 residual. And we'll get another insane condition. This one is for Ursula. Obsessive. You must find it. You don't know what it is, but when you see it, you will know and finally have some peace. You don't win the game as normal. Instead, you win only if the investigation is complete and there are no search tokens on the board. Otherwise, you lose the game. Yikes. Okay. And back to the investigator phase, but I think that's where I'm going to give both you guys and me a little bit of a break. That way we can let some other people have the spotlight on the channel here. That way we can let some other people have the spotlight on YouTube for a little while. We are going to come back to this a little bit later, though. I do want to run some errands before the day continues, and I want to get another workout in. So far, things aren't going too badly. We're just puzzling the investigation here, trying to figure out who... Basically, we're trying to figure out who the cultist on the board is. I know where my suspicions are lurking. I know we're definitely going to be taking a hard look at Ethel down here. That in her time, and being in a photo from the 1880s, is very concerning. But our first order of business when we come back will probably be Agnes talking to Dr. Barnett to see if we can get some more information out of her. Maybe about that blackmail letter. But I need to take a serious break here. So, we'll come back to this a little bit later. In case you guys don't come back, and I hope you all do come back later, what else is coming up on the channel? Tomorrow night, we will have another episode of Marvel Mondays, as we are playing Marvel United by Simon. Wednesday, we're playing Bullet Heart by Level 99 Games. Saturday, Mystical Munchies will continue out of the Star Wars Galactic Baking Cookbook as we make the side, Mon Mothma's Mini Focaccia. Next week, we've got another longer game lined up. Actually, I'm going to save this and exit. So save and quit. We will come back to this a little bit later. I'm just finishing up with my last plug here, though. Next week, I think we've got another bigger game that we'll leave laid out for all day. We are playing... Oh, right, we've got a new game debut, as we've got the last of the Kilforth games by All or Nothing Publications. We will be playing Call of Kilforth. Thank you for watching the video. Please give the video a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. Be sure to turn on notifications so you get my content. Be well, stay safe,
take care of yourselves and your loved ones, and I'll be back with more videos in the future. Until then, take care everyone, and hopefully I will see you guys later for part 2.